Good afternoon, friends. My name's Justin. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I play guitar on songs here in Nashville. And today I wanted to get my Crybaby wah pedal back out. It's actually not a Crybaby, it's an RMC 10, which is great. Man, it's so cool. If I turn off some of the gack here, this is just a little bit of reverb and the wah pedal itself. It's super cool. It's not ultra bright. And it's also not so unusable. It's like they sort of lopped the ends off of the sweep. I don't know. I think it sounds really good. It reminds me of old funk records. Very cool. So, in that thing that I was sort of messing around with, I was just playing over G minor, right? And the rhythm guitar, my Strat, would kind of finish the phrase with a... And you heard that kind of implying a C chord. That would kind of imply that that's a 2 minor, not a 6 minor, right? Because the 2 minor's 4 chord is the 5 of your key, which is major. A lot of you probably think of that as Dorian, right? It's a minor scale with a raised 6th, or a major scale with a flatted 3rd and 7th, okay? I just think in chords. I just think, hey, that's a minor with a major 4 chord. And then I know when I want to use that major 4 chord for something, right? Like that initial rhythm track. I just sort of throw it in there, you know. I could have easily that would have implied more of a 6 minor, because I would have a flatted 6th as well, right? That's the minor scale, flat the 3, 6, and the 7 from your major scale. And also, that pattern naturally happens from the 6th degree of a major scale. And that's what we would call the relative minor, right? But, you know, there were some moments in what I was playing where it's like, I just want to throw a little phrase out there. Just let it hang. Something about phrasing is that if every single one of your phrases starts and ends on the same note, even if you're kind of getting there in different ways, it's going to sound like you're going nowhere. That's like telling a story that never gets to the point, right? Like, you want your solos to tell short stories, or just it doesn't even have to be a solo. It's just like you play something melodic, right? I don't know. I feel like there's just a lot of connotations with the word solo. It's like, okay, well, I've got to do something emotional in the beginning, and it's got to build to something flashy at the end. There's my solo. I mean, that doesn't not work, I guess, you know, but every time you play something melodic, or you are the featured melody in whatever band context you're playing in, you don't have to play a solo every time. It doesn't have to be things that start and end on the exact same notes, you know. Maybe you choose something other than the one to land on. That feels like you're kind of leaving the door open for another phrase. Maybe you build interest by landing on something that's not necessarily in the chord. You know, like we're over that G minor. Like that's cool. Like that wants there to be another phrase that gets to the one. Then it feels like we've finished that thought, right? And then you can move to another thought. And you can play another phrase and leave the door open. And then another one, maybe it leaves the door open too. Or maybe it's like, I'm going to back out and go through this other door. You know, like explore the space. And the biggest thing that I find with new guitar players of any age or whatever, it's not necessarily that all your phrases start and end on the same note, but they start and end in the same place in the bar. You want everything to start on the one chord, or on the downbeat, the one, right? The one of a 4/4 bar. That gets to sound really blocky. Like, okay, I know what's coming. It's like watching a movie and you're like, I figured out the twist already, or the big reveal that the movie is trying to drop hints that you don't notice until after they've made the reveal. If all of your phrases begin and end on the one, meaning the downbeat, not the one chord, of the first bar, you know, maybe they're 2-bar phrases. So the first, third, fifth, and seventh bars are when you're starting all your phrases. People check out, you know? So for me, like maybe something to practice would be starting everything on the and of 2. Or start your phrases with a pickup, you know, a pickup from the and of 3, you know, like in 4/4 music, like this tempo at this thing I was just playing is at 72 beats per minute, right? I'm probably not going to play 30-second notes at 72 BPM. So the way I see it is I have 16 spots in each bar. That's 4/4 time, 4 quarter notes, each of them divided into 4 16th notes, right? So there's places for me to do all sorts of stuff and start and stop a phrase in all sorts of spots, you know? And I wasn't like super exploring the space in that, but I don't know. I guess the back half of what I had, I went to a real open melodic thing. I'm playing, that's really a G minor 9 without the note that makes it minor, actually. And then I went to an F6, and then an E flat major 7 with its 6th, which I would call E major 13. And then the second time, I used just kind of a really obvious, something that's going to pull real hard to the G minor. And this is a diminished 7th chord, okay? A diminished 7th chord, half a step below a minor chord, will pull really strong to that chord. Or a half a step above the 5. Okay, so here, here's our G minor. I mean, man, that just sounds like, that's about as at rest as you can make a minor feel when you land on it from that kind of diminished 7th chord. You could also do it from here. The crazy thing about diminished seventh chords is that they're symmetric. And so if you have one that you like, you can move it 3 frets and it's the same exact chord. So here, and it becomes enharmonic notes, right? So this is F sharp, C, E flat, A. Well, here's the E flat, A, C, F sharp, right? Go down 3 more notes, or 3 more frets. C, F sharp, A, E flat. Or from here up 3 frets. A, E flat, F sharp, C. They're symmetric chords. A symmetric chord divides the octave evenly, so it is its own loop of intervals, right? A diminished seventh chord is literally just minor thirds. Minor thirds make up 3 half steps. Well, 3 is a factor of 12. Math guy, right? So 3 goes into 12 4 times. So you have 4 notes in a diminished seventh chord, and no matter which one you start those on, you get the same chord. That also means that in our system that we're dealing with here of 12 half steps making up an octave, there are only 4 different diminished seventh chords, right? Because you can only move them in half steps. So there's this one, this one, this one. Sorry, there's only 3. And then you get to an inversion. You can kind of hear it, it's like I don't know, that sounds like old Looney Tunes to me, you know? Like what's down that dark hallway, or some characters falling in a dream. Something like that, right? But because this chord's symmetric, and because of the way the guitar is constructed, you don't have to change you don't have to change the shape of the chord you're playing when you move to an inversion of it, right? And because we slide in half step, with the 4th one, you get to an inversion of the first chord you started out with. So there's only 3 fully diminished seventh chords, period. And all of their inversions. Isn't that interesting? All right, well, I hope you all have a really good day. I'll talk to you later.